Hello, you're listening to the Servant of God, Pastor Bangi.
Now, in Matthew chapter 5, verse 13, the Lord said, "You are the salt of the earth, but if the salt has become tasteless, how can it be made salty again? It is no longer good for anything except to be thrown out and trampled underfoot by men." In verse 14, he said, "You are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden, nor does anyone light a lamp and put it under a basket. Rather, they put it on the lampstand, and it gives light to all who are in the house." In 16, it says, "Let your light shine before men in such a way that they may see your good works and glorify your Father who is in heaven." Now, we have already read it because this discourse started from the beginning of chapter 5 when his disciples gathered to him, and he began to give them the famous Beatitudes. He said, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted. Blessed are the gentle, blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, the merciful, the pure in heart." And now says, "Blessed are you when people insult you and persecute you and falsely say all kinds of evil against you because of me. Rejoice and be glad, for your reward in heaven is great." Now, I explained last time that these are the qualities that Jesus expects from his disciples. We are not of the world, even though we live in the world. So in the midst of this crooked generation, the Lord says, this is how you will live. You are going to be pure in heart. You must be gentle, and you must walk in such a righteous manner that it might provoke persecution for you. If you behave like that, he said, then you are being a salt indeed. And what is the meaning of salt? That's what I'm explaining. Now, I said last time that we should bear in mind that any nation, any land depends on the people there to invoke the blessing of God or provoke the curses or the judgment of God against the land. And I said that we Christians, our side is to provoke blessings. There are two ways we provoke blessings. Number one is how we live. Number two, the prayers we say. He said, "If my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray," in that 2 Chronicles chapter 7. And then he also said in Jeremiah chapter 29 that I send into a land, pray to God for the good of that land. It's very necessary that if the land will prosper, then I will prosper you. He wants around you to be good because you are present in that land. He wants to pour rain upon the earth because of you. Now, that's what we're explaining. He said, you are the salt of the earth. What does it mean to be salt? Let me use the example of the land of Sodom. Now, if you go to the book of Genesis in chapter 18, you see the story there. It's a story most of us know. Now, when God was going to Sodom to go and judge Sodom, you remember that he stopped by the abode of Abraham, and he told Abraham what he was going to do. He said in verse 17 of chapter 18, "Shall I hide from Abraham what I'm about to do?" It's such a beautiful thing for God to look at somebody and consider that it is necessary for him to discuss what he wants to do on the earth with that individual before he does it. But that's not what we're talking about now. But let's just bear in mind that it's possible to walk with God to that level where he will inform someone of the things that he wants to do, and he will listen to the person's opinion. In this particular situation, you will see that Abraham decided to pray and intercede for the land. He said, "Will you indeed sweep away the righteous with the wicked?" He said, "Suppose there are 50 righteous within the city. Will you still destroy the place like you planned? Would you not spare the place for the sake of those 50? He was saying to the Lord. And God said, "No problem. If I find 50, I will spare the land." And Abraham kept on going down until he got to 10. He said, "Lord, if you find 10 people, will you still destroy the land?" And God said, "No, if I find 10, I will not destroy the land." And you know the rest of the story. The land was destroyed. Why was the land destroyed? Because he didn't find 10. In Sodom and Gomorrah, there were not 10 righteous people. Please, let me just quickly say this. He was not talking about 10 people who spoke in tongues. He was not talking about 10 people who started churches and who went on evangelistic outreaches. Those are not the people he called righteous. He was just counting those who did not cheat when they gave testimonies, those who owned filling stations and did not rig their pumps, delivering 9 liters instead of 10 when somebody is paying for 10, who sold 45 kg of rice instead of 50 and made people pay for 50, differing weights and unjust balance. People who did not use those things. What was he looking for? He was looking for university lecturers who did not give people pass marks just because the person gave them money. He was looking for judges that did not take bribes. He was looking for policemen that did not arrest people who were innocent so that they could bail themselves out of police detention with money just because they wanted money. He was looking for people who just did their work and did not steal from their bosses. Those are the people he was looking for. Very important for us to understand, because many of us, when you say, if I find 10 righteous people, we thought he went there to look for holy men who lived in caves. He went off to look for, men who are, preaching the gospel morning, afternoon, and night. No, please get it clear. That was not what he was looking for. He was looking for those who did not steal from their neighbor. He was looking for men who did not commit adultery with their neighbor's wives. That's what he was looking for. Simple things. And you know what? In Sodom and Gomorrah, he couldn't find 10. Now, I don't know the exact population, but at least there were tens of thousands of people in those places. Yet he could not find 10. And now, having lived in the country I live in now for all these years, I know it's very possible. You can go to a church and you don't find 10. Church. You will not be able to find among the deacons, among the people there, people he can vouch for like Nathanael. He said, an Israelite indeed, in whom there is no guile. And he will not be able to find. I've lived long enough to know that this statement is not ridiculous. It was possible. People can be so into the iniquity in the air that you won't find one person who has turned away. He said, there is none righteous, no, not one. There is not one that has refused evil. It's very possible. And God was looking at the whole of Israel. He said, there is none righteous. There's none who has provoked himself to be angry about the things that are inside the land, to go and pray. God said, I sought for one man. Now, why I'm saying this, you listening to me, ask yourself, can you be counted? If I was living in Sodom and Gomorrah and God gave simple instructions, let's even start with your own profession. Because you will notice when they came to John, John was profession specific when he was asking people to repent. You say to the tax collector, don't collect more taxes than you're supposed to. You say to the soldier, don't take anything from anyone by force. So it's very simple. You can say, I'm a judge. Do I take bribes? Am I fair? I'm a pastor. Do I preach the truth? Or I look at who's there so I can get money out of them before I say what I want to say? These are the things that we are talking about. Listen, as believers, what God is asking us is, there are simple rules of righteousness that we must follow before He can count us as salt of the earth. Now, please, I'll come back to this later. So I'm explaining the meaning of the word salt. Let us assume now, it did not happen, but let's just try and use it to explain this point. Assuming that God got there, His angels began to count, and they counted 13 people who were judged as righteous. Would God have destroyed the land? We know the answer is no. He made that promise to Abraham. So those 13 righteous people will have been called the salt of the earth. But he didn't find even 10, which was the least. People say, why did Abraham stop at 10? He could have just continued. Listen, he could not continue forever. It had to stop somewhere. The point is that God accepted 10, and they did not find 10. And when 10 wasn't found, it was destroyed. So if 10 or more were found, those people that were found will have been called the salt of Sodom and Gomorrah. So what is salt of the earth? Salt is the reason God does not destroy a place. Salt are those people that have made themselves available so that God, because of them, does not bring forth His judgment upon the land. Now, many of us will see that and would like to complain about the government, about natural disasters, about problems, invasion by bandits and stuff in lands and villages. But if you read the scriptures, brethren, you will find that that is exactly how God used to bring judgment. God said, I bring judgment by natural disasters, by violent clashes, invasion by foreigners. I bring judgment, turning the heart of one man against his neighbor, intercommunal clashes. I bring judgment by plague, outbreak of diseases. I bring judgment by famine. All right, the land is no longer productive. There's economic trouble everywhere. But then, if these things are mitigated, if we are still living in peace, if it's not happening to us according to the multitude of our iniquities, then it's because God looked and said, there is this salt in this place. There are people I look at, and for their sake, I will say, no, spare this land for now. Let me end today again with this question. If you're a Christian, ask yourself, am I somebody that God can count? If God comes to my profession and says, I need to count 50 people who are righteous before me, can you be counted? Are you taking bribes and selling marks like everybody else? Are you cheating like everybody else? It's not how much you pray, brethren. It's how much you do a work of righteousness that makes you to be qualified as what the Bible calls salt of the earth.
We trust you are blessed by that short teaching. For more messages, books, and other materials, please visit our website, pastor.ng. Don't forget to share these resources with others. God bless you.